Today, we are turning the spotlight on politics, a powerful force that drives change, governance, and national development. While we often look at the president and parliament, the truth is politics starts with us, or politics starts right here on our campuses, I mean, in our classrooms, and among youth who are shaping the future. Recently, students of UNiMAC-IJ, that is the University of Media Arts and Communication, Institute of Journalism, took part in a political communication campaign and debate. That's one that wasn't just theoretical, but also brought politics to life. Parties were formed, manifestos were read, campaigns ran, and votes cast. And one party, of course, came out as the winner. Today, we are joined by the flag bearer of the winning party, and we will be diving into the journey, strategies, and what this experience means for students' leadership and political ambition. This is African Student Voices Show. My name is Jemima Daladem Doche, and today we are discussing redefining the political ecosystem. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, I'll introduce my guest and we'll begin with the conversation. Stay tuned. Welcome back from the break. And if you just joined us, this is African Student Voices Show on AAU TV. And today we are here to discuss redefining the political ecosystem. And as I said, I have a lovely guest with me and we'll delve straight into the discussion. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Okay, but before we get into anything serious or the serious part of the conversation, now tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, my name is Moses Kuyo. So you notice I have a very strange surname. My dad is Ivorian and my mom is Ghanaian. And so I'm a broadcast journalist, I'm a PR and digital strategist, and I'm also a budding politician. And so, yeah, I think that's it describes me. But beyond that, I'm also a student at the University of Media Arts and Communication, Institute of Journalism, reading public relations.
Okay, which year?
My third year.
Okay. Now let's get to the foundation of all this. I mean, as you said, you are a student of UNiMAC-IJ, your third year. And recently you guys had the political communication campaign, that whole thing. But I know that political communication is a subject you are studying, not like the course, right? So now let's delve into the political communication as a subject that you are reading. The whole course and what it demands and all that.
Okay, so the political communication course is one of the courses you study in your third year if you're doing public relations or journalism. Okay. And the focus is to expose communicators, public relations practitioners, and journalists to the nuances that come with political communication and enhance their ability to interact with the political environment. And so that's basically what we study. We study about theories that shape political communication, we study about messaging, we study about content, we study about campaign strategies, etc. We want to understand how politics and politicians and itself operate in the political environment so that as political communicators or budding politicians, we can also play our part in the future political environment.
Okay. So how has it helped you to understand politics beyond the textbook?
For me, I was already involved in political endeavors, and so some of the things I studied in the classroom were not new to me, but it doesn't mean that knowledge, I'm the preserve of all knowledge. Obviously, I learned a couple of new things. One of the things I learned was the right way to go about using propaganda, because propaganda is a tool in political communication. But if you start your journey through politics, you find out that propaganda is evil, propaganda is negative, and when you use it in a manner that is untoward. But within the political communication space in IJ, one of the key things we learn about is the ethical nature of doing politics and applying those ethics to making sure that your politics achieves a very impactful role and impactful goal. And that's one of the things I study in because the lecturers, especially led by Dr. Joyce Manuel, who's the course lead for the course, instill a certain level of value system and ethics in the things that we study about. And the goal is to refine and train political communicators, journalists, and public relations practitioners to be able to use the arena of politics to create change. And so that's why we study those things.
Okay, I think you made mention of the fact that you are already in the political space, if I'm not mistaken. So can you throw some light on that?
Oh yeah, so I've done some level of constituency and national politics for one of the two leading political parties in this country. And so, yeah, so I've been involved in digital PR, digital communication for one of the parties. And so I have already had a lot of political experience within that field. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's come down to the whole political communication course. And as I said, recently you guys had a political communication debate where you formed, I know you formed political parties and all that. So now let's run us through the formulation of these political parties, the messaging, the campaigns, and I mean the political parties that were involved and how you even became a flag bearer.
Okay, so the interclass political campaign competition this year's edition had 7 political parties. Okay. There was the National Progressive Alliance, which won the competition, and which I'm proud to be the flag bearer. He introduced me as the flag bearer of the party, but ideally I am the president-elect, simulated president-elect of the country.
Sorry.
That's right. So yeah, so there was NPA, there was PVP, there was PAP, there was GDP, there was UDM, and there was what's the last party? But there were 7 political parties.
Okay.
Now you have to go through a certain sequence that mirrors what is done at the national level. And so first you have to establish the brand identity of the political party. You must find a name, find the colors, find a slogan, create an anthem, all the brand elements that are associated with any political party. That's where you start from. Then you move to establishing a leadership structure within the organization.
Okay, sorry to cut you, but let's go back. You spoke about the fact that you formed a political party, you get the name, you get the colors, the logo. So tell us, as a winning party, what were your logo, what were your slogan, what even influenced your colors and all these messages? Okay,
so the name National Progressive Alliance is a play on the fact that we were a course group that was merged. So we was a regular class group and a weekend school group because we did not have the numbers. The students who subscribed to those classes were not a lot. Okay. So because our lecturer didn't want us to stand as a disadvantage, because numbers is very important to the political game, she merged the class. And so then we became an alliance. Politically, you need to understand that an alliance is a conglomeration of small political organizations. So we chose the alliance. Progressive is because we were forward thinking in our approach to dealing with the challenges and problems that affect this nation. We believe that most of the strategies that the two de facto political parties have employed are not progressive ideologies and progressive strategies. Okay. And also we chose progressive because we are progressive social democrats, which means that we are blending both capitalist ideologies and social democratic ideologies. So we are progressive social democrats, so we chose the progressive. And we are national because we encompass everybody. So there was National Progressive Alliance. Okay. And I'm saying here that initially, we chose Ghana Progressive Alliance. Okay. And the GPA, we thought it would be a nice catch amongst the students because GPA is the grade point average. But went to do our further research and we noticed that there was a political organization that also had a very, very similar name. And so then we needed to change it to avert any attacks from our opponents. Then the colors, our colors, we had blue, we had yellow, we also had green. And the blue was we chose that color because blue is the color for the political ideology. So progressive social democrats choose blue as their color. So we chose blue. The yellow was because we believe that Ghana had a lot of mineral resources that we could use to transform this nation. And if it's used well, it will bring a lot of respite to the good people of this country. Okay. And the green was because we believe that there was a certain fertility of our nation that has not been tapped into. And so the nation possessed a certain fertility that we needed to tap into to be able to bring a lot of progress. And so that was what went into the choosing of the colors. There was a lot of back and forth though, but finally we settled on those colors. And our logo, I don't have the picture representation, but there's a star, there's a black star that represents that we're a party that is in Ghana, but also thinking about linking it to the total liberation of the African continent because we are in Nkrumah in our ideals. And so then there was also a handshake. Yeah, so that means that we were saying that for us to be able to progress as a nation, collaboration and unity is very important. And so that's what the handshake represented. And so basically those are some of the key elements. So everything we chose needed to communicate something. And that's what we chose. So when it comes to our slogan was progress for all, prosperity for Ghana. Progress for all, prosperity for Ghana. And our campaign message was hinged on the fact that we wanted to create a Ghana that truly works for everybody. Okay. And so we wanted to make sure that we create progress for everyone and make sure that prosperity becomes the hallmark of our nation. Okay. Then we had our catchphrases, memorable taglines that said, so good governance brings progress.
Progress.
So
Okay.
then we say, you're here, so we're moving forward only.
Okay.
You get it.
Okay.
And so those are some of the taglines that we use
You
to
were using.
resonate with different facets of the voter economy.
Okay, I think, and then now you were talking about the executives and how you got the executives to
Yes.
now get your flag bearer and all that. Now
Yes.
run us through that process.
So establishing the leadership structure is also a very pivotal moment in the establishment of the party, and so we had to do that. There was an interim committee when we came together as an alliance. We put together an interim committee that sought to steer the affairs of the party until we get national executives, and it was made up of people from both parties, to the Progressive Action Movement and the New Action Movement. So we named the two constituent parties. So there was Progressive Action Movement and New Action Movement, and we came together to form the National Progressive Alliance. So they opened nominations for the national executives, and people felt they could fill those positions, offer themselves for vetting, and they went to screening, and then there was an election, and we elected our national executives.
So when you say vetting, which people vetted these people?
The interim committee members. So the interim committee members vetted the national executives, and we also had some astute political figures who joined us for the vetting to make sure that it was very crisp and proper. And so that happened, and then it was put to a democratically held elections where those who offered themselves were voted for, and then we elected them. So we had a national chairman, we had first vice, just anything you see in the national leadership architecture. We had everything, national communications officer, etc. And those people were in charge of various wings of the party. So the national women's organizer is the head of the women's wing, national committee. So then the committees were established. So once the committee established, everybody in the party had a role to play and a position to fill. So you could work in the communications wing, which I was in until I was elected flag bearer. You could work in the national women's wing, and each wing had initiatives they wanted to undertake.
Okay, so now before we go for a break, let's talk about how you became the flag bearer. I mean, as a political party, even when we look at the national level, in picking a flag bearer, we know a lot of people contest, but then we all come together and then choose one person from the party. And I'm sure you were not the only person who contested for your party to be a flag bearer. So now let's talk about how many people contested to be a flag bearer for your party, and how you emerged as, now the flag bearer of that party.
So there were three aspirants: myself, Dr. Sanagli, who was one of the strategists for our party, and Harold Bestman, who was in the election committee. So the three of us offered ourselves for that position.
And how did you come out as?
I'd say that the good people of the National Progressive Alliance did an assessment and analysis of my abilities, and came to the realization that per my previous track record and the abilities that I possess, I was the best person to lead a party, and the records do not lie.
So what were the records though?
So for example, when it comes to even POLCOM, so let's even put national politics aside, I've coached political parties, other political parties to success, and and two political parties even before this year's election. So they saw that he's someone who understood what we needed to do to win, and so then if you couple that with my fine face and my ability to speak eloquently, then
that's true.
You have a very good mix of everything.
So we have a very good mix of everything. We'll go for a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. Stay tuned.
Explore a whole new world of exciting visuals with AAU TV. Get ready for a mix of interesting talk shows, interviews, discovery documentaries, and news on AAU TV. It's not just about watching TV, it's about experiencing something special. AAU TV reaches over 25 countries in Africa, bringing you a blend of knowledge and fun. Learn about different cultures as you enjoy the shows. If you have events or want to showcase your business, we've got you covered. Watch AAU TV free-to-air channel on satellite. Connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and X, formerly known as Twitter, at AAU TV. Reach out on call or WhatsApp us at +233 26 629 6601 or +233 20 399 5210. AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa.
Welcome back from the break, and if you just joined us, this is African Student Voices on AAU TV, and today we are discussing redefining the political ecosystem. So before we left, we were talking about how you became flag bearer, and then you were telling us about that. But now let's talk about how you rose to the top. I mean, even at the national level, I mean, we look at this major political parties that we have and how elections, I mean, even go, and you realize that, I mean, everybody wants to be a winner. So now let's talk about your leadership journey and what steps you took, initiatives that you took to be able to get to, I mean, arrive as being the winning party.
Okay, so the National Progressive Alliance, first of all, we understood that to do what was required to win, we needed to make sure that we were not veering totally away from what the proponents of the cause stipulated. So there was a marking scheme. Okay. And the marking scheme stipulated that there was going to be the party's activities and efforts was going to be scored on 3 things largely: the debate, the town hall meeting, and a documentary that is going to encompass all the things.
Okay.
When I say all the things, I mean all the things that you've done as a political party. You should be able to tell it within 5 minutes on the D-Day, the grand finale.
Okay.
And so we focused solely on fulfilling the requirements of the marking scheme. We're not too extreme. We didn't do anything extravagant. We made sure it was simple, strategic, and straight to the point. And so then we started undertaking certain initiatives, and we were trying to do our best to make sure that every wing of the party had some initiative under its wing that was going to undertake.
Okay.
So the women's wing was doing a menstrual health hygiene outreach at a school. The youth wing partnered with certain community members of Laboni to clean up the streets of Laboni.
Okay.
I was leading the campaign efforts by touching base with various facets. So I met the National Chief Imam, I met the leadership of the Ghana National Fire Service, I met any other security agencies, I met people from the clergy, I met market women, I met school children, I met key stakeholders within the national economy to send a message that I'm a leader that is very dependent on cross-border consultations and crafting manifestos and policies that is going to transform this nation. And the content we derived followed my journey and campaigning to all these facets. So we put all that together, coupled with what we did internally as a party. That is the elections. We documented everything very well, from the flagbearer elections to the national executive elections to everything that we did internally, and told our story in a very moving, dramatic, and convincing manner on the D-Day. It was within 5 minutes. And in the judges' remarks, that's one of the key things they mentioned, that as compared to all the other parties, we were able to encompass everything we did in that 5 minutes, and we told the story in a very moving manner. I think you should watch our documentary. I'm sure if you belong to a different political party, you throw away your political
Okay, so now that you've tasted the politics leadership, let me ask, do you have any, I mean, personal, would you want to pursue, do you have any personal thing you would want to pursue when it comes to politics? I mean, at the national level, do you have that need, or you foresee yourself doing something national, or you just want to live it here?
Well, yes, I have strong ambitions of leading this country one day. The end goal is to become president of this country. And so then I'm walking the path towards that. And I think winning the POLCOM presidency is a prophetic indication to me. But within the next election cycle, I'll be offering myself to contest one of the parliamentary seats in this country. And for me, it's a training ground and a training period for me. And so that is the next step for me, because I have strong ambitions of leading this country one day and doing active national politics. So yes, I'm very thankful for this experience, and this experience is going to catapult me into the national political space.
All right. So based on your role in the campaign, what do you think are some of the responsibilities you took personally and that has shaped your, your perspective and your leadership role in politics?
So managing relationships with people and managing people within a leadership setup is very important. And that's one of the things I learned, because people have different weaknesses and different strengths. And your ability as a leader to be able to amplify their strengths and find a way of helping them deal with their weaknesses in furtherance of the collective goal is very important. And that's one of the things I learned, because you see, people's weaknesses sometimes might affect your ability to deliver as a party. And sometimes if you're not too tolerant of understanding that, oh, this person can't do this, so how do I help this person to undertake this role? I don't get angry when the person doesn't do it, and all that is very important. That leads me to the next skill I also learned within this space, is that I learned a lot of tolerance. Because if you are, I am naturally a perfectionist, and I like my things to be done in a certain manner.
Kind of
And
way.
sometimes when you want to and somebody is doing 0.5, it's difficult to and I also have a zero tolerance policy for mediocrity. And so all these things I needed to learn to find a way of dealing with it, understanding that not everybody would be like you, because where you fall short, that's where someone's strength is, and when your strength is, that's where someone's weakness is. And so then you need to find a way of working in harmony and collaboration and building on a team effort to create the goals and the objectives that you want to create for the party. And I think we're able to do that. Even though it was challenging at a certain point, we had a lot of fights, we were not talking to each other. But one thing I loved about our party is that when it came down to making sure that we do our bit to make sure the party was in the right place, we did that. We put aside our differences and we did that.
Okay, so that maybe takes me to my next question. I mean, in campaign, I mean, it's not easy. The struggles are a lot, just like what you are saying. So let's talk about some of the biggest challenges you may have faced as a flag bearer, because I know everything still comes back to you and you have to still make sure that people are doing what they are supposed to do for you to get the winning, the position. So now let's talk about some of the biggest challenges you may have faced and how you were able to overcome them.
I think I'll start with two organizational challenges and I'll come to my personal challenges.
Okay.
I think the two major organizational challenges would be the fact that we lack a lot of resources in terms of funding some of our party initiatives, because you understand the party contributions was what was going to fuel the undertaking of these initiatives, and some of our party members did not pay or were not in a position to pay or having certain financial challenges, and so they couldn't pay. And so then as a party, we needed to be very strategic with the way we undertook our initiatives. We just focused on the ones that we believed would enhance the overall campaign message. And so we just selected some of the initiatives we initially planned and we just focused on those ones. The second thing would also be with working in harmony. Every single day during the campaign period, two committee members are fighting a committee, they are not agreeing, there's a lot of resolutions that need to be made, people are having disagreements, all those things, you need to find a way of dealing with it. And especially when you're a flag bearer where everybody's bringing their concerns to you, it was very strategic for me to not take sides, because then one party member will think that you are siding with other party member, and then
that's true.
Because you need all your party members to love you, and so then I found a way of managing those situations. I think the personal challenges would also be that there was a lot of expectation on my shoulders, because when it comes to the annals of UNiMAC-IJ, I've at least built a very credible political track record, and everybody, hey, Moses is going to win. So sometimes the pressure was on my shoulder to deliver. But well, everybody was expecting to see what will happen if I don't win. I guess
so
we'll never know.
Do you think you delivered? I mean, seeing that everybody knew you and then your track record in politics, do you think from where you stand? Really?
I even topped it up. I also won the best presenter on the day. So.
I mean, you talk for a living.
So I won best presenter, and my party won the overall competition. And so then I think if it was football, that's the Ballon d'Or of POLCOM. Then the last one will also be the course itself. The course itself is demanded, and this particular semester we're doing about 8 courses. My program, we're offering about 8 courses. So sometimes you forget that you have other courses because it's very intensive and demanding. You're focused on how to outsmart your opponent. You are going here, you're going to meet the
you have other 7 more subjects.
7 courses. For those who took com research design, com research design is very difficult. And so then it was difficult balancing, but we found a way, and we are thankful to God for his mercies.
Okay. So now let's do a little comparison. Now, how do you think experiencing the whole political communication journey, how do you think it prepares students to pick up some national roles? What do you think? How far do you think these activities or initiatives go a long way to help students who are maybe keen on taking those national steps? I mean, how do you think it helps them?
So for those who already do not follow politics and political activities or probably have an apathy towards it because the general notion about politics is that it is evil and it's negative.
It
endows them with the foundational knowledge about what politics is, why we need it, why political communication is a very important aspect of politics, and how you can succeed as an effective political communicator. So that is for those who are ignorant of politics. I speak to my colleagues and they say, oh, it wasn't political communication. There are certain things I wouldn't have known. There are certain actions that certain politicians took that I didn't know was intentional, was deliberate. I didn't know. And now I'm in a better position to interact with them and the political environment. And so that is for those who are ignorant. For those who were already
into it,
exposed to politics,
like yourself.
Yeah, like myself. One of the things here endows you is the ethics.
Okay.
Learning that there are certain extents to which you shouldn't go as a politician. There are certain things that you need to apply morals and fairness and your personal integrity in dealing with. And so, and that is something I give plaudits to our course lecturer and the course lead for the course, Dr. Joyce Manuel. She was heavily focused on telling us that, yes, you are doing politics. People say there's the dead side of politics, but we are training you to be ethical politicians and political communicators that can transform and change the nation and the world at large.
Okay, so now let's talk a bit about the ethics. I mean, mostly we say that when you're in the classroom, it's different from you being on the ground. We see what happens at the national level when there is politics and when there is coming to be an election. You understand everything that goes on.
Yeah.
Now we are training students to be ethical when it comes to politics. Do you think that, it will really go a long way for them to be ethical? Because sometimes when you're in the classroom, you feel like, okay, yes, I can do this when I get on the ground. But you get on the ground and then the activities and the struggles are different. So people are swayed away and they become a bit unethical. How do you see this?
First of all, I understand your point because we do this every year and still at the national level,
a lot happens.
And so I understand. But I also believe that it shouldn't discourage us. I think the attempt to even do this and do it well must be commended. And so that is why I think trying to instill the value system and the ethics in the students is a commendable thing. But beyond that, we are making progress.
Okay.
If you have followed POLCOM in itself over the years, you notice that this year's one was mildly as problematic as the previous years. This year's we didn't see a lot of, even though there were some attacks here and there, personal attacks and some loose propaganda all over the place. It wasn't as divisive. The political terrain was not as divisive as it was last year. And so then in itself we say, oh, then we are making progress. We are not there yet. We are not going to, I'm not saying we are going to get there in the next 2 or 3 years because it is a mindset shift that needs to happen. But we are not going to stop trying. I'm sure the department is also not going to stop trying. And we don't need to stop because we've not seen tangible progress yet. It might take a while, but we need to be very consistent in continuing to train political communication journalists and public relations practitioners.
Okay. So when you look at the national politics, comparing it to student politics, and now that you've experienced these, even though you have your experience in the others, what do you think are some of the similarities and differences when you put these two opposite each other?
So I think in terms of the application of the theoretical knowledge, it's virtually the same. Same strategies, same leadership makeup, the activities we undertook. These are things that national political parties, established political parties will do.
Okay.
Because if you take when the president delivers his address, when there was a financial state of the nation address, the financial briefings, etc. When all these things happened, we had political parties doing presses, political parties doing presses to criticize the government. Our party released communiques critiquing the budget, etc., and all that. So we did virtually anything that any political party would do. People were doing donations, people were doing media engagements. I even came on your platform, and thank you very much for that. I came on your platform and you assisted with me with that. But I think the difference is in the reach. And the size of our campaign. We don't have the resources that any national political party would have. And so we don't have constituency offices, we don't have regional offices.
Yeah, that's true.
Our class group is very small. We're about 90 people. Other groups were 100, 120, etc. So we don't have the reach that national political parties would do. But when it comes to applying the knowledge and strategies, we're doing really well with that.
Okay. So what has this whole experience, I would say, what has it taught you in terms of leadership, people, and maybe about your own political wings?
It's taught me that if you give people a reason to trust you as a leader, they would trust you wholeheartedly because I acquitted myself in a certain manner as flagbearer of National Progressive Alliance, and it brought to me an outpouring of love and devotion that really humbled me. There were people who were fighting for me on platforms. Some people up to I don't know their names, I don't know, I've not met them before, but you see people fighting for you on platforms, people not talking to their friends because of you, because they believed in you as a candidate and they believed in the message you were spreading. And so then it was a refreshing and very humbling feeling for me, and it taught me something that you need to understand the role that you occupy and understand that the reason for which you occupy that role is to serve the interest of the people. And once you do that, they will subscribe to you wholeheartedly. Another thing also taught me, as I've already mentioned, is tolerance. Tolerance is key. As a leader, you need to be very tolerant of views, even if you believe that your views are right. So fundamentally, those are the two things.
Okay. So now, before we go, if you had the chance to meet a political figure, or let me say a historical figure, who would that be?
Dr. Kwame.
And why? I mean, why him? Because you can't even meet him. So why him and not somebody who is,
I'll meet him when we go to heaven. But yeah, I think he's arguably the greatest African to have ever lived.
Okay.
Especially because of his visionary thinking. I think we say a lot of people are visionary, but I think we use the word loosely. If we say someone is visionary, the template for being visionary should be Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Now, let's look at his impact even years after he departed the face of this earth. We see strategic and transformational initiatives that he undertook, and the impact is bringing to the lives of people. We see the ideologies he espoused, and why those ideologies, if implemented by the African continent and countries within the African continent, will bring respite to the millions of Africans on this continent. We see the hope, the ideological thinking that he possessed to liberate the African person. And I asked myself that in that time, and he was so forward-looking and progressive in his thinking. And was he a spirit? Was he a man?
He was a man, I guess.
Yes, yeah. He wasn't a mere mortal at that yes, but that is the person I want to meet.
Okay. So any last words to our viewers?
Oh, I want to thank everybody who supported us on this journey, especially the leadership of my party, the National Progressive Alliance, and all the party members for the good work they did. Very big thank you to the university and its department for creating such a very fulfilling and impactful cause, and to our opponents for making this contest a very worthwhile one. And so this is the start of my journey. I think I built a platform now, and it's going to catapult me to greater political exploits. And I've received a lot of requests to contest for the Student Representative Council presidency. And my response to those requests, I'll use this platform to say that my response to those requests is that I'm leaning heavily towards contesting for that position. And in due course, when I make a final decision after considering all the factors, I'll communicate it to the good people. And they'll know that, yes, Omajen Kwanaba.
Thank you so much, Moses, for being with us. It's been very great knowing how all these things go through, and as a student, you're able to juggle through and then still achieve your success. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you too.
So this has been African Student Voices, and today we discussed redefining the political ecosystem. My name is Jemima Deladem Duche. See you same time next time. Bye.